right, everyone, welcome back to the Uncommon Freedom Show, back in the studio with Beck. It's been a hot minute since you've been in the studio, huh?
Yes, it has. It's been a busy month.
It has. I'm trying to think the last one we recorded together. It's been a while. I don't even know if we recorded one yet.
You bumped me for all these other popular guests, so well, I've been on the outs.
Sheriff Mark Lamb was pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree.
Your youngest son was pretty cool.
Yeah, Dylan rocked it.
Yeah, well, hey, welcome back. You were recently at a mastermind with Brooke Thomas, and it's very appropriate to talk about the power of running with lions or lionesses.
That's a hard word to say plural, isn't it?
Yes, lionesses. It could probably get you into some trouble. Yeah. So, but it's really one of the main concepts of Uncommon Freedom is running with lions, upgrading your circle. And it's definitely something you've done. And as we talked about, it's very difficult to find entrepreneurial, abundant-minded women, especially outside of our coaching circle, not bashing any of your friends, but really women who are into building a business, not just having a job, but building a business, having massive impact. Very difficult to find that. So go ahead, talk about it.
Yeah, it's really a unique group of women, and I'm so grateful that I found it. So shout out to Megan Valentine just for, telling me about this a year or two ago. And then for you, just supporting the investment of time and finances to be a part of it. But I've just found that, again, you need to put yourself in different rooms that shake it up a little bit. And for me, the first year I went into the mastermind, I would say I wasn't intimidated, but I also just didn't really know what to expect. And I'm not sure I made the most out of it. It was a crazy year last year. We had a lot of parenting adventures and some other things where I was just a little bit in survival mode. And so I took in some content, but I didn't steward it the way I wanted to. And then going in this year, I will say what I did last year is I radically grew my faith with the Lord. And so what's really unique about, Brooke Thomas's events is not only are these entrepreneurial, already successful and chasing success women, but they're all doing it with kingdom purpose and a faith mindset. And so we spend a lot of time at the retreat and at the mastermind and things. We just worship. It's Holy Spirit filled. It feels amazing because you're really getting that groundwork done before you get into like business and then impact. And so it sets the stage well for everything else that we do. What else do you want to know? Why we all wear pink?
So yeah, it's definitely, it's the sorority experience for those who didn't get sorority, right?
I'm imagining it's so much better than a sorority, but I did describe it a little bit like that. Like I like the color pink, but I love blue far more. And so, I have a couple of pink things, or I had a couple pink things in my closet.
Now you've got a full pink wardrobe.
Until I went into working with Brooke, and then, she's really generous, and a lot of the things we do, we get gifts. And so I have a lot more pink in my closet now. But what I love is she's authentically herself, Brooke is, but she is really professional and created for impact, and she has a huge heart. And so she's really about providing value. But the other thing is she sets the stage early on in her events. And this is something for all of us with associations, because you talk about this in the book, that being an uncommon community is talking about, ideas, not people. There's no gossip in this group. It's really raising the level of your conversation to an abundant-minded conversation. Like, what are we creating together? How do we cheer each other on? And so there's also not a spirit of competition with each other. And it's really like when you win, I don't lose. In fact, I want you to win because it shows me I can also win in the things I'm doing. And then it's a really collaborative group. So it's like, how can we help you win?
What are some of the industries that the other ladies are in?
There's a lot of women in real estate. There's lawyers, medical professionals. There's other network marketing people in the group. There are people creating product-based businesses. So they're, creating a jewelry clasp, or one of our fellow elite members has created like a hair perfume. So for girls, that's a really amazing product to put out there on the marketplace. So some people are producing product. Some people, they are their product, and their influence and their content is what they can deliver to the marketplace. And so a lot of it is about branding and strategy, increasing your audience, serving your audience well. And then, Brooke even took it up a notch, I think, this year, and brought in like an expert, Megan, who's been working with us on strategy for business. And it's been really neat to see I took one idea from the mastermind and I used it yesterday with a group of our up and coming and already developed leaders. And, I spent an hour with 100+ coaches online yesterday, and we had a really fun time building a growth plan for Q1, which you and I have talked about those kinds of things with our team, but this was a very simple format. I think it's been a while since we've done it. And because I brought that home, having practiced it myself, I was then able to pass it along to our organization and work through a lot of the concepts and things that our coaches are working through. And I felt like I brought a lot of value out of that. So there's a lot of value coming besides just the neat community and the nice people. And yeah.
And a saying that we hear is the more people pay, the more they pay attention.
Yeah.
And obviously it's a pretty, the price tag on what you're doing this year is actually about what I used to make as a police officer.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to make that commitment and investment to guarantee that you're going to follow through on things. Because if it costs less, you're going to do less. And it's easy to say, it's water under the bridge type of thing.
Right.
But when it's a bigger chunk of change, you're going to pay more attention. For women that are looking to upgrade their circle, but maybe aren't yet at the level of making an investment similar to what you made even last year, which I think last year's investment was about a third of what this year was, right?
Yeah.
Do you have any suggestions or recommendations? How can women upgrade their circle without going to the level of a mastermind like this?
Yeah, and you can start smaller too. I mean, again, Brooke, as an example, offers, smaller groups of things that are much lower price points. Again, there's value provided there, just a different level. And it's a good starting place for a lot of people. If you go to those things and you steward the information that you're getting and the relationships, then often you can build to the level where then you can afford that next thing. And that's part of the culture that I want to surround myself with, which is that I am very blessed, but I'm not satisfied financially. And so I want to create more, to do more impact in the world. And also so I can invest in more things like this. I wish I had more of our, leaders and coaching team that are in the mastermind with me. I wish I had those people this year. And my hope is that we help them create impact this year so that they can invest again in themselves. The other thing is you can start, like you talk about, and just create environment like this. Like you started the men's Eagles group. And what it takes knowing what you want to create. So just like in lifestyle design, I would say in creating community like this, you have to know what you're going for. So you have to know the type of people you want to attract. And then I would say once you know what you want, you have to also be becoming that person to create that group, because it's really difficult to invite other like-minded, high-level, big thinking, entrepreneurial, kingdom-minded people into a group if you're not quite there yet. So I'm not saying you need to be at the arrival stage, but you need to work on yourself. Because you and I have put ourselves in some bigger rooms this last year, but it's been like a baby step process. It's like that scaffolding from teaching where it's like you go from where you are, you take the next step up, or it's like a peak at the next peak, so to speak.
Right.
And once we get there, we get some more confidence, we get some more skills, then we're ready for the next level. And because of that, we've been rubbing shoulders, so to speak, with really incredible people that I think are helping us to even dream bigger. I mean, I don't feel like we were small dreamers, but I've dreamed exponentially bigger already this year than I did 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Uncommon freedom is a game changer, not only for the focused leader, but also for the rudderless sojourner seeking direction. When Kevin talks, I listen. I lean in and always leave a better man. As the wisdom of Proverbs 3:13 states, happy is the man who finds wisdom and the man who gains understanding. I want to warn you in advance to prepare your spirit for a heart and mind shift as you read this book. I have learned that conviction comes when the heart is open to change. As I read this book, I was moved on several occasions to evaluate my personal life and make course corrections. And this isn't just a book, it's a manual for creating godly leaders who we desperately need today, and especially as our children walk the earth in whatever it looks like 10, 20, 30 years from now. Who knows that we need leaders who embody these things, because not only do we need people who are healthy and wealthy and have the right heart, but we need people who know where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom.
You've always been for a long time, we've been intentional to find mentorship outside of the business that we're in. We get mentorship in the business,
right?
But also it's kind of easy to end up in an echo chamber, or to get focused only on the business and lose perspective of the other spheres, the other spokes on the wheel of life. And one of the advantages to doing something like this is you're getting outside perspectives. Can you want to just talk about the value and the importance of that? So, for example, if you're in real estate, to just go to real estate conferences, you're going to learn a lot, but there's probably some things you're going to miss if all you do is go to real estate conferences, because that's the perspective that everything is being taught from.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, because we are whole people and we're not just what we do, I think being in environments like this develops the whole person. So, when we went around the smaller group that I'm in right now with only 10 women, what we did initially, which was really brilliant on Brooke's part as far as leadership, is we really spent the first day we talked about our businesses, and we each gave a short talk on what we did, what we were building and creating, and how we needed help in this group. But the next day, what we did is we shared like our greatest heartbreaks or the things that were holding us up right now that are the deepest things. And we picked just one or two, but each person's was so unique. And so you have someone from a different field, but they're sharing something that is holding them up. Maybe it's spiritually or in their business. And then you have a group of people around them, God bless you, speaking life into them and helping them come up with, solutions, or even just being prayer warriors for them. Like maybe we can't solve that person's problem, but we can pray into that. We can sow into that. And then the other thing is we can give each other ideas and we can support each other's businesses. So when you're in a group that's healthy, that's what I'll just say. This group is so healthy that because there's no spirit of competition, it's like I might not be in the real estate industry or even have a lot of interest in that, but I can absolutely cheer on a podcast, a book, or give ideas on social media strategies to someone who's building that business, even though I don't understand all the details of what they do day in and day out. And so I think it's just that cross-pollination can be really helpful because, again, we can kind of get stuck in our own field of vision sometimes. And I've already seen the results of putting myself in that room and then bringing it back to our organization and finding something practical I can train with. And I've had multiple words spoken into me, at that event that are just basically I left with my soul on fire for the impact that we're yet to create. And I also went through just like some healing while I was there for some really hard things. I just had some emotional time. But the nice thing is I didn't leave it there. I didn't leave like, I have all the things. I left whole and healed. And that's really Jesus. But also being in that space where you have the time to make that process. And when you're with higher level, abundant-minded people, they are willing to go there. They're willing to be vulnerable if they're the right kind of people, but they don't sit in it. And that's the difference. When you put yourself in a room where everybody sits in it, then you never move past it. Then it's a constant source of conversation. Then you're having the same conversation 6 months later of how bad things are. And it's not a spirit of hope and creation where when you put yourself in that room, your mindset can pivot so quickly that I think it creates a growth mindset and it changes how we show up in everything else that we do.
Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking cross-pollination and then you ended up saying the words, but just the idea that it gets you into new spheres of influence, new circles. You have those people on your podcast or you just learn from them, you read their books, and then they have you on their podcast, they read your books, and it just connects you to different people. And one of the things that we've learned, and it's become abundantly clear, it seems like even more and more, like every passing day, it's even more obvious to me just how powerful connections are. Like everything that you need to be successful in life can be found in the relationships that you have. And the better quality people that you have relationships with, the more quickly your problems will get solved.
Yes.
The more abundant you're going to think. It's just going to accelerate life. It really is mind-blowing. So there's probably a great starting point for a lot of people would probably be to just find some type of, either a day seminar or a weekend type of thing. Would you suggest that someone jump in if they're like, that's it, I'm just ready to hit the ground running? Would you suggest someone jump all the way to something like the Queen's Table that you're doing, or is it worth
No, that's more like
hand-selected
by Brooke. I think in her particular type of format that she uses. So that would be a giant leap. I don't want to speak to whether someone should do that or not. I think you baby step into it. You go to a live event, which is usually like a couple days. The investment's more reasonable, and you get the experience of, again, like-minded people, great training, lots of ideas, a feeling of belonging, and you still get tons of value. And then what many people will do is from that live event, then launch something like a year-long mastermind, where it is a smaller group of people. I think there's about 60 of us there. And that's, we're intentionally Zooming together. We're praying together in this one because it's faith-based. We're implementing ideas and strategy, and we have accountability built into it. So I also would say, don't hesitate to get into something like that. But again, make sure you're willing to really commit to it. This year, I'm much more committed to like shifting my calendar to make sure that the timing can work for things if possible, and doing my action steps so I show up with accountability. And I'm going to get into it I'm going to get out of it what I put into it. But I would say start small and then build from there if you need to. If you have a lot of income and you already have done some things, then it is probably time to level up. If you've been doing the same kinds of things over and over again, it's time to go to something at the next level and let that pull you and draw you up so that you're putting yourself a little bit into an uncomfortable situation, but you're going to leave better. I mean, what I loved is going this year, having some work done last year on worthiness with some counseling and just some other things. I realized that my mindset's shifted, my faith has shifted so much that when I went into this year, smaller room, maybe just feeling like I could have felt less confident, but I didn't. I went in feeling like, what, I belong here. And I belong here because I've got all these ideas that I need to figure out how to implement. And I need a space to process all of that with the right people that are trusted. And it's okay if like I'm not as far along as others in some areas, but I might be farther along in certain things. And just realizing I can bring value to a group like that, not based on necessarily what I've already done, but also all the learning I've done along the way. And so I feel like it is important for us to continually grow and learn, but you've got to start somewhere.
Yeah. And I know you also share just kind of the perspective that, last year, and I'm sure it's probably even more so this year, you're around women that have net worths of probably hundreds of millions, and some even that were billionaires, if I recall correctly what you said. And it's so valuable that as soon as you think, man, I'm pretty good, to go intentionally work to put yourself around a room of people that are higher performers than you and bigger impact makers than you, so that you reset your goal.
Yeah.
Was it 2 Sundays ago, or 2 weeks ago, roughly, I was with a group of men that were supporters of.
Don't quote me on those numbers because I'm not very good at.
Got it. It's all good.
Basically, but people further ahead of us.
I was with a group of men for a weekend that are all supporters of one of the ministries that we support, and talking to them. I was one of the younger guys in the room, but these guys, hearing them talk, it was very clear that their net worth was hundreds of millions of dollars. And not that it's about money, but the impact that they could have because they had so much more to give is significantly more than what we're able to do. And it just motivates me to not be satisfied, because what we've achieved is far more than what we ever thought possible in probably the first 15 years of our marriage. And it's easy to be like, to read your own press, basically.
Yeah.
And so forcing yourself into, bigger and better groups, like John Maxwell says, right? If you're the smartest person in the room, it's time to find a new room. Not that I'm ever the smartest person in the room, but it's just constantly.
Not today.
Not today.
Just
right?
kidding.
Always looking for that next level of people. They're going to force me to
But you do need to be in a room that aligns with your values. I don't think you and I would be comfortable, because there's plenty of rooms to get into with wealthy people.
Right.
That doesn't attract me at all. I don't want to be in a room where it's all about things and stuff. What I love about the rooms that we've chosen to put ourselves in is we can enjoy a fun experience at a nice place with, some nice things. But it's not the main purpose. The main purpose is creating impact in the world and stewardship. And so the people we spend the time with have that same mindset of, I want to create impact, yes, for my family, but also for my community and then beyond. And they're doing really cool things, which reminds us that like we can join with them on some of these things, or we have our own things we're called to, but it's never about building a selfish life, which for us, when we defined uncommon freedom, that was really important that we put in there. It's got to have a kingdom purpose. Yeah. Otherwise, it's a worthless calling, and we're living for ourselves. And I know that God doesn't honor that.
Awesome. All right, friends. Hey, run with lions, upgrade your circle. And we just want to encourage you that if you aren't spending time with people that if you were to trade spots with them, if you were to trade lives with them, if it wouldn't be an upgrade, it's time for some new friends. It's time to upgrade your circle. Invite those people with you, because we don't want to leave people in the dust. But if they're not willing to change, as long as you stay tethered to them, it's going to hold you back. So we just want to invite you, upgrade your circle, run with lions or lionesses, and continue to strive for uncommon freedom.